It's not usually a technology problem or a people problem. It's a structure problem.
Welcome back to Revenue Remix, where I bring in experts to discuss current trends or challenges and give you the insights that you need to grow. I'm Summer Paletti, your host and moderator and founder of Rise of Us, where I help founders and CEOs avoid wasting money, momentum, and reputation on growth strategies that fall flat. And today I have with me Kim and Taylor. They are co-founders of Preflight AI. So, little backstory. I was messaging Kim on LinkedIn in like September or October. I was looking for a COO for a podcast panel, and the hair and the glasses made me know that she was somebody who would get on and talk to the high energy salesperson. I don't always find that in a COO, but then she went quiet on me. But a few months later, it all made sense because there was an announcement about her new product. She had been heads down creating Preflight AI with her co-founder and also daughter. And then somehow the stars aligned and we were all at TechCon SoCal last month. So I like bringing you a great founder journey story and a profitable growth lesson. And the conversation that we had at TechCon made me know that Kim and Taylor had to come on the show and tell their journey. So welcome. All right, before
Thank
we get
you.
into
Thank you.
business, let's have a little bit of fun. Life is too short for boring food, and I am squarely on if it's not spicy, it's not dinner side of the fence. So where do you stand on that? Do you have a favorite hot sauce?
Actually, I'm not super into spice, so I don't have a favorite
That's
hot
okay.
sauce, unfortunately.
That's okay. It's all good.
And guess what? She gets it from her mother because I don't either.
It's all good. How are you
No
all living
spice.
anywhere near Los Angeles without liking spicy food?
I am
That's
no
okay.
spice. I can't do it.
That is so funny. So I'm that, and my daughter-in-law is where you all are.
Yes.
And so I'm trying to tone down the spice when it's Sunday dinner. And when I tone it down, she's like, this is really hot. Like, what's wrong with you?
That's how I
That's so
am. I
funny.
can't do it at all.
Different strokes for different folks. Okay.
Yes.
So let's get to actual business instead of everybody who comes on my show. We're going to talk about food. Okay.
Okay.
So before Preflight AI existed, you were both seeing patterns in how organizations were struggling. And I want to understand what you were seeing break and why it matters to anybody who's trying to grow. So, Taylor, I want you to take this first. When you're looking at organizations trying to implement AI or do AI, right? What were you seeing? What was breaking from like a structural standpoint?
Yeah, so I was seeing that a lot of organizations honestly just didn't have their data together properly, meaning they had documents here, documents there. Different teams didn't have so sort of synergy. There was not open communication. And so when teams would introduce, or let's say like executives would introduce AI platforms, some of the staff, they would all be looking around like, hold on, we don't know how to use this. We don't know where this is. And so it started a lot of confusion.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I look at it from the sales side, but if it's all messy and all over the place, how can you scale it? Yes.
Right.
So
And
then, Kim,
when,
from your side, you work with leaders across different industries. But I know that sometimes the pattern is the same regardless of industry. So what were you seeing over and over again that wasn't just a tech or operations problem? And how, yeah, so let's start that
Yeah.
first.
I mean, baseline operations is basically the same in every industry as the foundation. You just have to learn the company, learn the industry, and learn all their regs and stuff. Such. But what I see with, like Taylor said, with these executives is it's we want to do AI. And or we need to reduce headcount. We need to reduce payroll. And it's like, no, 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 no. That's not what this is for. My first step is stop. Let's stop. Let's talk about your organization. What are you doing? What are you trying to get to? What would success look like with an AI system? And how would that impact your team? So the capacity and the culture of the organization. So the data is the low hanging fruit. We know if your data is all over the place, I always say trash in, you're going to get the trash right back. Right. But there's also the thought of the leadership. What's your capacity? Are you inside your organization CEO, or are you someone that just says, this is what I want, do it? And then there's no accountability and your team is floundering, as Taylor said, or your team doesn't have the capacity or they don't understand it. A lot of folks think, okay, we're going to put in chat GPT and everybody should know how to use it. Just use it. And it's like, no, that's not how this works. So that's what I was seeing a lot of is want to reduce headcount or want to automate everything right now. And nobody's looking at the organization and see if it even makes sense.
Yeah. Wow, there is a lot there.
Yes.
So I just heard the chat GPT because I was talking to a company and they were like, okay, I know we need to do AI, so we're gonna get a chat GPT Pro license and we're gonna give it to everybody. And I was like, but why? Like,
Yes.
what is the outcome you're hoping to get? And it turned out that the employees were like, we need ChatGPT, so they gave it to them, but there's no direction. And by the way, there was nothing in the handbook. There was no like, this is what you can put in there. This is what you can't. This is how you should use it. This is how you shouldn't. Yeah. So it's a little scary with that powerful of a tool.
Yes, it's like the wild, wild west. Everybody's out there just trying to use it and trying to get a leg up in their industry by saying they're using it. And it's just fragmented, disjointed, and causing lots of problems within these organizations. And
Yeah.
nobody's
And
owning
not,
it. So when the thing
eh,
goes bad, it's, well, it was AI. And it's like, well, that's not enough. Who's monitoring? Where's your human in the loop, right?
I agree. And then honestly, I think that the lack of training and there's no standardized training for these AI tools gives the employees kind of a leeway where they can say, hey, I wasn't trained properly on how to use ChatGPT. So I didn't know I wasn't supposed to put all the company secrets into the chatbot.
yeah, that is a huge risk. And I don't always want to bring it down to like an HR, like who's going to get in trouble type of thing. But everything that can go bad is going to end up in HR eventually. And you cannot reprimand that employee if you did not tell them they couldn't do the thing they did.
Yes.
That's on you.
Yes.
Yes,
I work with a lot of
I'm glad
HR
you brought
leaders
that,
who
Taylor.
I work with a lot of HR leaders who it's always lands in their lap because they think it's a behavioral issue. But if you, my first question always is, was the person trained? Do they have the SOPs and the guidelines? Do they know what they can and cannot do? Because if they don't, you can't do anything about it. You've got to fix that. So it's not usually, I always say it's not usually a technology problem or a people problem. It's a structure problem. Your operation, your structure is bad.
Yes, yes, always. So on my show, it always has to bring back to revenue. So Kim, we're gonna touch a little bit on what you said about headcount. I
Yes.
made a face because I've always been there's two ways to do AI. Reduce headcount and make your bottom line look good right now, or use it to expand the productivity and do more. So there's the I want profit right now, folks. Those make headlines. And then there's the I'm going to build for something bigger and more profitable later. Those folks don't make the headlines because that's not a clickbait story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this wasn't a prepared question. So yay. But let's talk about revenue realities and profitable revenue as it pertains to AI implementation.
Yeah, so that yeah, the first thing is always headcount. That's what they want to reduce and not thinking about first of all when you deploy an AI system, you're spending money off the top. Like you're spending money for whatever however you're using it, licensing or usage or tokens or all that. You're spending money up front. But the way to curb the cost is to train and make sure the foundation is good at the start that you're not trying my thought is you're not trying to get rid of people. What you're trying to do is allow the people to do the job you hired them for and remove the redundancy, the barriers to that work that if they're research or whatever they need to do that's outside of the mundane, the emails that we're responding to thousands a day that could be a chatbot response, where are you located, things like that. But it should be a tool to free up your people to think and to do the real deep work that they need to do for the organization. Because AI, it can answer questions, you can train it, but it doesn't know the nuances of your organization. And every organization has those nuances that AI just would not know because it's not there and it doesn't have those relationships. AI is not getting up and walking down the hall and speaking to somebody in the cubicle, right? So it's not going to know that that conversation even happened. So when you're trying to utilize it, it's at a disadvantage because it doesn't know those different nuances. That's where the human comes in and says, okay, this is great output that the AI has provided, but I'm going to give it the flavor, right? So that's what we see with folks trying to cut headcount. It's they're not thinking about the long term and how this is going to work going forward for your clients or whomever you're serving, because right now it's I need ChatGPT. And it's nobody's thinking. We need to stop and think first.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. So then you're naturally leading us to the AI readiness. So Taylor, like what does it cost a founder or a company when they skip that readiness piece and jump right into AI execution?
Wow. It can be like tens of thousands, upwards to millions of dollars wasted on tools and software and doing all of this implementation just for the project to fail.
Yeah. Well, and then what if I'm using Klarna as an example
Mm.
because yeah, you all know
Mm.
it cost them not just in the failure of the project, but it cost them in reputation and it cost
Yes.
them big in client experience and retention, repeat business because they went so all in on AI without thinking about it
Mhm.
that the customer experience broke. And then they had to bring folks back in like real humans to fix what was broken. So I think that that's something that people don't always necessarily think about is what's down the road. It is never just the cost of the tool.
And
And then
it's
think about from an
reputational.
HR perspective, what does that do to like your open door or your Indeed rating the next time you're hiring, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And it made me think about the recent story about Uber and how in the headlines everyone's talking about how they blew their AI budget and now, they have investors that are looking at that and everything. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely
and
And
it's
understand.
I
Uber
think it's
and somebody else that's a big name that June 1st, their AI budget is already used up for the year. What do you
yeah.
do now?
Yeah, yeah, between Uber and then you've got Starbucks that had to scrap theirs after 9 months because the thing couldn't count right. Like, I mean, and then I see it. I see the functionality where it's the staff are using iPads and they're scanning each individual item to go into AI system, but if they miss one, because we're humans and we might miss something, I'm watching it miss and it's still counting and it's very confident in its response about how much it has, and it's deployed to I think it was 11,000 Starbucks
Oh my
and the
god.
counts were all wrong. So the human needs to manage. I always say treat this AI like an employee and you need to manage it. You need to it's a tool that you need to manage, and I always say you don't wanna layer it on top of your operation because then you're managing AI and you're trying to get some output for that, and then you're trying to get the ROI on your regular operations. If you run the AI system through your workflow and through your operation, you manage your regular KPIs and you're gonna see where AI is helping and where it's not. It's very hard to manage both at the same time when it's layered on top of an existing organization.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought it to Starbucks because it is the physical representation of messy data. Because the AI was trained on perfect data, but then what broke was the messy storeroom in the
Yeah.
middle of rush hour and the milk all over the place. So it is, yeah, AI cannot deal with messy data or
And
messy
that
storerooms or whatever.
that's a nuance of the restaurant, right? Because AI wouldn't know that. So that's your nuance. That's where the human educates the system.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah, and
So
I
then
think that
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that depending on the organization, AI might not even be a good solution for you at all. Like AI is really good at simple things, or like it can crunch numbers, all types of stuff, but it's not so good at managing a restaurant.
Well,
So
yeah. Okay, so you prepared us for the question we didn't have prepared. Yes, I think the guest bringing up a topic that wasn't prepared for. I think this might be a first, Taylor. Good one. So let's go down that rabbit hole a little bit because we have time. So I do tell people that sometimes AI is the answer and sometimes it's not, which is why you need to start with what challenge are you trying to resolve? What objective are you trying to achieve? And then let's reverse engineer and figure out, because I think do AI is sometimes like the solution before the problem. So, Taylor, since you brought it up, aside from a restaurant, like let's get back to B2B,
Mhm.
what is an example where you've seen that like AI wasn't the answer and what was?
I feel like I see that a lot at tech companies. They will fire all of their junior devs and things like that because they think that all they're doing is writing code. But in reality, there is more nuances. They have more of an understanding on how software is supposed to be architected. But AI doesn't really know that. And if it has the wrong information, because it can be wrong, it hallucinates a lot. So it can think it knows how to build this software, but then you ship it and it breaks on all of your users. So I see that AI is really not the solution there. The solution is probably getting better engineers that can work alongside AI so that they can move faster.
Yeah. So then I'm non-techie, but I think it's the like senior engineer running the project and then someone else bug fixing and also I
Yeah,
don't know,
there's different
testing
team.
before you
Yeah.
ship?
hmm And then people are
Yes.
having AI do a lot of the testing now as well. So it's trying to test its own work, and that can get messy very quickly.
No, no, no. I mean, that's why we have developers and QA teams. You cannot test your own work reliably.
Right.
Okay. Yes. So let's bring it back to your aha moment. You two realized that something was going wrong and that, hey, I or we should do something about it. So who wants to tell the origin story?
So the aha moment came for me a year or so ago when I started seeing organizations, small organizations talking about AI and what they wanted to do. And at that time, it was all about I need to fire my secretary and I need something else to replace that person. And so I'm like, that was all I was hearing was headcount drops. And
Yeah, a
my
year ago,
thought
yeah.
always yeah, my thought always has been, "What is your operation?" And for me, having the background of chief operating officer, I always bring it back to the operation because I feel like that's your nuts and bolts. That's how you get things done, right? And so I thought this is becoming a problem and this AI it's moving very fast and I thought, "Okay, what can I do to help some of these clients? I'm only one person." And so I made a very, very primitive chat GPT for me just to kind of help people. Like I'm training it and I have use cases and I'm doing all the things. And I was talking to Taylor about it and I showed her and she's like, Mom, we could do much better. I could do much better with that. So I was like, okay. I mean, she's a Towson University software engineer graduate. I said, let's put this tuition to work. Come on. And she brought her expertise because, tech is not my lane, but she brought that expertise to be able to make a product that is user friendly. That she's done a lot with it that I definitely could not do without a tech background. But that's where it started from. Just seeing companies saying I want to fire people, and my heart would jump every time I heard that. I'm like, no, it might not be the person. Let's take a step back. And really I was going into organizations working on professional development because that was the thought that it was the people and it wasn't. So that's when I said there's got to be a way that we could help these organizations with their policies, their procedures, and the governance of these systems because this is craziness. And then my anchor client is a very large enterprise type client. And they spent millions and had to scrap systems and spend millions again. And it's like, this is a reoccurring issue that we're seeing. So we've got to be able to do something that will at least help with their foundation, give some information, help them see where they are right now and what needs to be fixed. Let's start there. And then we'll go up with what types of systems. The sexy part of AI is picking your tool and which one are you using and how does it connect to this and that's all fun and everybody's talking about their tech stack and all of those things and forgetting that the foundation needs to be set first.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because that's not fun.
No.
I work on the sales side of the fence, and you know what's fun? Onboarding your new salesperson. You know what's not fun? Writing a sales playbook, writing a sales process, getting your CRM up. None of that's fun. That's not fun. Get somebody
Mhm.
and get them on the phones. That's fun.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yes, I got it. So then what I'm hearing is, Kim, you saw a problem and you started working on it. And then Taylor, you were like, okay, I could help you do this better. So the mother-daughter co-foundering, Taylor, did that concept kind of come from you?
I think so.
Like, mom, I
Yeah.
can help you. Let's start a company together.
That's pretty honestly, we were sitting in the living room watching TV and she's on her laptop and I was like, "Oh, let me see." And then I'm sitting there, I show her like a quick mock-up of what it could look like and then it just went from there.
And I was sold as soon as I saw that mock-up so fast because I built this Jet GPT and it took forever.
Right. Well, and GPT's chatbot. So if you've got a
Yeah.
tech person there who can engineer something that is more user friendly and more customized, that makes perfect sense. So I'm always an elephant in the room kind of person. Stuff that worked at 5 million, founder hustle, figuring it out as you go, super scrappy, dig in and get it done. Is that actually still working at 10 million? Or are you grinding harder and calling it progress? Because the strategy's got you here will not get you to that next level. Something has to change. If you're not sure what that something is, DM me on LinkedIn. You two are co-founders now. But before then, there was a very different dynamic. And Taylor, I want you to talk a little bit first about like how you two are managing an equal partnership when like for the rest of your life, that was your mom and you were the kid. Like that's this and you all
Mhm.
are this right now. So what's that like? And
I
how
think
good is Kim doing?
it honestly came pretty naturally. I think we do work very well, especially on this project, just because we're managing like two whole separate parts, meaning I'm really leaning into the tech and mom's really leaning into the operations and how we can develop our governance and everything like that. So I just think that I don't know. It feels good. It feels natural. She's doing a great job.
Well, that's
Thank
good. I
you.
mean, it doesn't seem like she's still telling you what to do, but like I
You
feel like
know,
for some folks that could be a challenge. Like cuz the dynamic changes.
it does, and I think I try really, really hard to remember that we're colleagues, that she's the co-founder. She's 50% of it as well. I really, really try hard to remember that. Now, there are times that I'm like, Taylor, I need you to do this and I'm like, oh, wait, mom mode. Let me reframe that. But funny story, we actually did something. We were talking, oh, we did a listening session and we were talking to some people and Taylor was talking about our organization and she, for the first time, was trying to call me Kim. And, it's muscle memory to call me mom, right? So she says mom. And then after the call, she's like, I'm gonna work really hard to call you Kim. And she shows me a workflow and it's got like mom's part. And she's like,
I
I'll fix that. I'll fix it.
tired.
And I'm like, no, I get it. Like almost 25 years of your life, you call me mom every day. So I get it. I'm fine with it.
You
But
know
yeah,
what? Yeah, now that you mentioned that, that is like that's like the only problem. Is like like getting used to calling
Yeah,
you by your first name.
I can see
and
that.
when she said it, I could tell her little face was like, "I'm in trouble."
That's tough. And like my dad's an entrepreneur. He was in construction, but construction guys don't know how to do, I don't know, invoicing and paperwork. So me and my sister worked with him at some point in time. Like when you're in college and you kind of need a job. And we had to call him by his U2 name at work. And then unfortunately for him, like the dynamic stayed there. So we don't call him dad anymore. We call him by his government name because it's stuck. But then the grandkids came and called him Papa. So now he's just Papa. So
That's
that
good.
helped. But yeah, so I think we didn't manage the switching very
That
well.
yes.
Maybe you guys can manage that a little better. Okay, so what I want to do is talk about your launch. So you all launched April, right? Like it's been a couple months
Yep.
Yes.
officially.
Mhm.
So a lot of our listeners are founders themselves, and we love a founder launch journey. So who wants to talk about getting the MVP ready to launch and like your first announcement and go to market motion?
Taylor talk about the actual MVP launch because she worked on that, and then I
Yeah,
kind of put it
let's let
all out
Taylor
there.
handle that, and then Kim, you
Yeah.
talk about the launch. So Taylor, what does it mean for you to get an MVP to market?
So it means that I really like I check, triple check quadruple check everything, or try to at least before I launch something. I don't want to put out bad software at all. But I think one of the challenges is getting out of that mindset, because if I stay in it too long, I'll never release, I would never release it. I would have never pushed the updates. I would have never got it into the hands of our users.
How did you strike the balance between so I'm thinking of it's a cliche that perfect is the enemy of good, right? Like how
Hmm.
did you strike that balance? Cuz I'm getting the feeling that you are very structured and super smart and like you like things to be the way they're supposed to be, but at some point in time you're iterating too much and you need that outside feedback. So where did you
Definitely.
draw that line and how?
So I try to draw the line with what features we have on our roadmap. So if I know, okay, this is the feature, nothing more, nothing less, I'll get that pushed out and then let it breathe, let our users test it, and then I can iterate and move on to the next feature or the next update or whatever the case is.
Yeah, okay. You're letting the product roadmap be your good enough is good enough.
Yeah, so I don't get stuck trying to implement everything all at once.
Yeah. A technical founder can have feature output syndrome where it's like, I'll do all these features, all these features. Like, you know what matters is user input and I don't know, revenue. So, Kim, talk about the launch. How'd you launch it? What'd you do?
Yeah. So again, another trait that she has gotten from me. So I'm the same way. And one of the things we have to do with each other is talk each other down from being overly like she'll scrutinize and check after check after check and want to make sure the feature does this and this. And I'm the same way on the operational side. I always give more. I feel like I need to tell a story and I've got to give the structure so that someone can understand. And it can be much, it can be a lot, it can be overwhelming, not just for us, but for users. So we have to really check ourselves and bring that back. And that's the same way with the launch that I had to, make sure that I put it out and let folks know about it and do all of the back end work for the company, getting us our C Corp and all of that to prepare that we're ready for when we start talking to investors, when we are really taking on our larger clients and being able to accept the payments and all that. Less is more in this space. People just want to know they have a problem, they want to know that you understand it and that this is how you fix it, and that's it. Like the bells and the whistles are really, they're great, but that's not what the end user is looking for. So I think for me, launching it and getting it out there to the public, I had to really check myself and make and say it's okay if it's not perfect. That we're putting out this product that we know is going to help people. And if we have some hiccups or some feedback along the way that we need to change, we'll do it. We'll build this plane while we're in it, right? So I think that that's what I had to learn, because organically, that's not the way I've worked in operations. So I had to learn that just do it. Just put it out there and do it, which was very new to me. It made me very uncomfortable. Taylor had to talk me off a cliff a lot because I'm like, this is craziness. Like we've got to make sure this is tight and ready. And she's like, no, mom, put it out there. Just do it. We got to just let it go. And it has been actually refreshing in my life because I'm able to just work and do it. And this is my passion and work all through it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And if something messes up, we'll fix it. And understanding that that's okay. So the launch has really taught me a lot about how I work and how I think and how I need to pivot for this type of industry and keep that operational brain when I'm working with the client if they need extra help or support. But for this piece, the pre-flight, we're moving on. We're moving it along.
Yeah, and just to
That's an
piggyback off
important
that,
mindset shift. Go ahead.
or yeah, really quick, I was just gonna say that at first I feel like we were building for enthusiasts like ourselves, but not for the average user. So yeah, I had to put myself in the
Sure.
shoes of somebody. Okay, this person might be an HR employee and they want to sit down at their desk, turn on pre-flight, and get to work.
Mm.
Mhm.
I like that, and I want to explore that. Look at you, Taylor, coming with ideas. Get it. So, yes, it was interesting for me going back to TechCon, and like I felt like it was LinkedIn in person. It was a lot of tech enthusiasts, it was a lot of AI enthusiasts. And then sometimes when I'm working with I do professional services work as well. I work in financial services, and not everybody is like, so, oh my God, AI is the best thing since sliced bread. So then the enthusiast versus the average user or just a regular person who's not just eating AI hype all day long, how did you figure that out?
Yeah, so I think, I had to put myself in that person's shoes and not and think that way and get out of my own way because if I had just gone with the way that I work and the way that I thought things should function, this product would never be out there. I do think that our secret sauce, so to speak, is that we hold listening sessions where we are listening to fractional executives, we're listening to C-suite folks, program managers, operations people, HR from all different industries so that we can understand. Because like Taylor said, I could build this thing for me all day long and it'd be magnificent in my world. But I want to know from the HR person, what's their pain point? From the risk person, what are you looking for? Auditing, what are you looking for? So that we can meet those needs of that person. That has been very helpful for me, is hearing on the ground what people are dealing with and what are the struggles so that we could build a product that meets that need as much as possible to try to meet all the needs of most people and not just, like Taylor said, us or a select few.
That is super smart because I'm sure you all have seen enough technical founders build a thing they think is really cool. And then they're thinking that it's so cool the product's going to sell itself. And then, by the way, no one cares because you didn't take into consideration the impact that the end user wants to get out of the product and not how cool the product itself is.
And I think that helps the founder too, because it helps with your feelings and your ego. Because if you're building it so much for you and you love it so much, and then if the one person or people that say, this really doesn't work, this doesn't fit our need, you're crushed. People are crushed. The product is your baby. You've started it, you're building it, you're nurturing it. So that can hurt. But if you are building it for the actual user and you're listening to people and you're saying, okay, well, we'll take this into account and we'll build for the need, it takes that ego and that personal feeling out of it a bit in my experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really hard, by the way.
Yes.
That is not easy. That is way easier said than done. Okay. So I'm going to take it back to TechCon a little bit because that's where we finally met. Let's say there's somebody who's ready to do AI because they got back from a conference or they went to a webinar or the board's getting on them. What is one thing from each of your perspectives? Taylor, I'm going to have you go first. One thing that they should pause and look at. Because that's the thing right now. AI is moving so fast that people think they can't afford to pause. But you all know that if you don't pause and look, so what is one thing that they should look at to realize that maybe they're not as ready as they think they are?
I think they should take a look at their workflows. They should see how things are moving, and I guess, like you said earlier, identify what the issue is. Like, what are we actually trying to solve? Because if not, let's say you actually don't have, a super complex problem that like you need AI to solve, then you could skip spending 10, 20, $30,000 on ChatGPT subscriptions.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, Kim, what's one thing that they should pause and look at if they think they need to do AI today?
I would say they need to pause and look at their structure, starting from the leadership. Who is accountable? Who's going to manage this thing when something goes wrong? How, either if it's a minor issue or a big issue that might land you in the headlines. You need to have the stakeholders at the table, your leadership stakeholders, and you need to identify that person. I see a lot of the EVP team is the accountable party. Well, if you've got 12 EVPs, then they're all going to be pointing the finger at each
Yeah.
other. Like, it wasn't me. And you can't hold the accountability to the right person. So definitely knowing what your leadership capacity is. Can the leadership team handle managing, implementing, managing, and tracking AI output? If that's a no, you got to start there first.
Yeah, I like that you put the responsible person because a lot of people will be like, oh, the C suite.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
C-suite has 10 people now. 10
Yes.
people cannot be the responsible party. So I'm a little mean. When there's no clear responsible party,
Mm-hmm.
guess what, CEO? That's you.
You're it. Yeah, the buck
And
stops
if
with
you don't
you.
want to be it, you got to go figure it out first before you launch it.
And I will say, and a hill that I will go down on is that I don't believe that the CTO or your tech leadership are the accountable ones for the output of the AI, only because they are responsible for the functionality of the system. They're not responsible for the data that goes in. They're not responsible for training it. They're not responsible for the KPIs that should be managed at another level, another C-suite person. So I will always say I don't agree and don't believe that the CTO or your chief IT guy needs to be over all of the governance for AI. They just it's just not in their wheelhouse. So I definitely will always say never your tech person.
Because at the end of the day, it's a tech tool. And would you make the CTO responsible for whether Salesforce was a mess or not?
There you
No.
go.
Yeah,
Right.
you
It's
can't
the
really do
same
that. That
same
doesn't work.
concept.
Like it. I like it. Okay. You all have a company to build and some funding to get. I'm going to paint a picture and then have one last question for you. So before I saw you two outside of where my panel was, I was just standing there getting some air and getting myself in my space. And there was a security guard who was directing people to that particular spot because it was a little down a hallway. And I heard her say proudly, "This is one of 2 women only panels at this event." And then I saw you two go in, and then I was there with my daughter, and it was just a really powerful moment because there were only 2 woman only panels at that event. And I'm glad there were 2, okay? Because there used to be none.
Yeah.
We're not going to solve for the world in a day. So what I want to do is just from each of you, who is a woman grinding and building who also deserves a spotlight?
So I would say, and actually we just met her, and it's a couple people. I have put one on. I sent you an email, Summer, but Camille Terry. She is the founder and CEO of Charger Health, which is a company that provides training for technicians to, what is it, Taylor? Help fix like EV
Uh,
cars and
it's
systems and things
the
like that.
chargers. So like when the chargers break down,
Mhm,
instead of them having to call Tesla all the time and get
mhm.
them and wait 6 months for them to send a technician, she provides a charging station technician. Like it's like that people can go out. She can deploy people much more quickly than the manufacturer.
Yeah, so it's
Nice.
called Charger Help, and she is amazing. She is the first African American woman in California to raise 100 million. So she's doing great things. We actually met her at a women's event at the mayor's house earlier this year, and we have had several conversations with her. She's been a great mentor to us as we're building Preflight, and definitely would love to see her on here or hear her
Yes.
story more. I think a
Yeah,
lot
I'll
of
link
women
her in
would
the show
be
notes. Nice.
empowered by it. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Taylor, who should we know? Who deserves the spotlight?
So I was gonna mention Camille as well,
Uh-huh.
but I don't have anybody. I don't have a singular person on the top of my head, but I just wanted to shout out Sister Scripters at Towson University. It's a group for women in tech, for computer science majors, information technology, information systems. And they pretty much have weekly meetings and they get together to do interview prep, resume building. And they recently put together an offshoot organization called Bit Brothers. And that one is for young men who are in tech and are looking for career advice and help.
Nice. Nice. I like it. Thank you for that. I'll link all of that in the show notes. And then I am going to let you folks get back to building your dream. So thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, it was
And
great.
I have a future panel in mind that one or both of you is going to need to come on because we're talking AI, we're talking growth, we're talking about what breaks, all kinds of stuff. So be on the lookout. You listening at home, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss anything. And I appreciate you all, and I will see you next week.